Welcome, friends, to a very special episode of Podcast Unlocked, the world's #1 Xbox podcast. It is our best Xbox One games of 2016 show. We're talking through the 10 nominees for our best Xbox One game of the year. Those games, by the way, I'll give them to you real quick to save the first commenter the trouble. Dishonored 2, The Witness, Inside, Forza Horizon 3, Firewatch, Gears of War 4, Rocket League, Dark Souls 3, Battlefield 1, and Deus Ex: Mankind Divided. Now, guys, people can subscribe to our Unlocked YouTube channel, which is where, Alana?
YouTube.com/IGN Unlocked.
Perfect. And if you subscribe to that YouTube channel, which hopefully you've already done or are doing right now, you've got a chance to win your choice of any one of these games. All you've got to do is leave a comment on this video on the Unlocked YouTube channel, predicting which one you think is going to win. Now, we haven't voted yet.
No, we
We're
have
recording
no idea.
this before the Hannah Destin.
No. Maybe a little too late on that one.
Okay. Which one do you think is going to win? And then we will, I believe we're randomly drawing from those people that correctly guess it. So let's start right away with Dishonored 2, Alana. This is your Game of the Year pick for you so far?
Yeah, which is crazy. We've spoken about it before on the show. I didn't like Dishonored 1 that much.
I'm with you.
Yeah, but Dishonored 2 is, especially in level design, just absolutely incredible.
What about 2 is really clicking for you that where 1 didn't quite grab you?
I think it's partly that you can play as Emily or Corvo, and I feel a lot more drive in playing as Emily because she's fighting for her own freedom, whereas in Corvo I felt like I was fighting more for someone else than for myself, which makes the narrative a lot more driven. But
yeah, more personal.
Yeah, it has a lot of the same mechanics as the first one that lovers of the stealth genre have always really loved, but it's the level design, the Clockwork Mansion. There's concepts. I don't want to even talk about it because realizing these things for the first time is so amazing when you realize how intricate some of the levels are.
Can you give a little example of what? Because I've heard the Clockwork Mission mentioned a few times by a few different people. What is special about it? Why? Right. What's cool?
I'm actually not going to talk about Clockwork Mansion. Instead, I will give you one of the examples of how great this game is one of the achievements is kill Pablo 3 times.
And you have to figure out how to do that.
Time travel. You can kill the same guy 3 times in one of the levels because it messes with
Poor
time.
guy.
It's amazing. You can also apparently finish the entire game in high chaos and then time travel to undo all of your kills in that level, and you could still finish the game on low chaos. It's just, it's incredible.
So it's the
flexibility
of it. Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, is it fair to say, I mean, Dishonored, and now seemingly especially Dishonored 2, it's almost a spiritual sequel to Thief.
Oh yeah,
right?
They were open about that, right? It was Dishonored was inspired by Thief, and then the new Thief was inspired by Dishonored, and I think Dishonored 2 is so much better than Thief 4, or the newest Thief.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's totally owed to the original Thief games and how creepy and intense they were that Dishonored is the way that it is, but it's also still just Bethesda making something that's absolutely amazing, that runs incredibly well, and just every single turn presents you with a new challenge that's completely unexpected.
With a really signature, beautiful art style as well with that
honestly,
game.
I like the world. We've been calling it whale punk. I like that. I just think the people look really ugly.
I like their style. I like that they're kind of chunky. They
I
fit
think
the
people
world
are
really
mixed
well.
on it, but that's like my only thing I don't like about it. So
yeah.
Well, if that's all it's
fantastic
holding its back, that's a pretty good video game. All right, The Witness. The Witness is a game, of course, from Jonathan Blow and his team. It is his follow-up to Braid, which was one of the most. It's on the Mount Rushmore of Xbox Live Arcade games from last generation. The Witness is a wholly unique puzzle game. I will start by just saying I love this game so much, respect it so much. Its art style is so beautiful, but I freely admit I'm too dumb for it. I got about 100-something panels in and then just started wandering around, and eventually I kind of petered out on it, but that's me. That's not the game.
It's a great game to play with a friend, actually.
Yeah.
That's how I played it. I played it entirely with a friend. And on the topic of it being beautiful, it's still my phone background is a screenshot from The Witness because it's such a pretty game. But
Great
it's
color
tough.
palette.
Yes,
that's probably one of the most striking things the first time you sign on, just how colorful that whole world is.
Yeah.
And like, you're not really given a lot of direction. It's just kind of like figure out the puzzles.
Yeah.
You know, and
I love that.
you start doing that and unraveling more and more about the world that you're in.
Right.
Yeah, and there's like so many great diverse environments too. Just going back on how beautiful the game is, and it is also incredibly hard.
Yeah,
So,
but it's also that the things that make it hard. The game from the very start teaches you its own language without
Yes.
dialogue. It teaches you doing this might mean this, and then you figure out how things work while you're solving them, rather than it being like, by the way, this is exactly how you solve this puzzle.
One of the nice things about The Witness 2 is because there are so many puzzles, you can just kind of bounce around to whatever place you feel comfortable and what place you understand the most. And like eventually, maybe learning from that puzzle will help you figure out a different puzzle,
Very true.
a different puzzle.
Yep.
That's kind of like how I played. It's just like, oh, this makes sense now because I solved this. And I looked at something different this way, and now everything makes sense.
Yeah, there are some really intricate puzzles that you find right at the start that don't make any sense, and you realize it's because you hadn't found some panel that teaches you the language of that puzzle
Right.
later on. But it's nice in that, as we said, the environment's beautiful, and you can just walk around that and bail on things as you get frustrated by them.
And when was the last time that a game actually motivated or almost forced you to break out note paper and to draw
Yep.
puzzle solutions to
Yep.
help you out?
I
on?
was playing the whole thing with a notepad, a mirror, scissors, and a pencil.
I heard a lot of stories of people like they had this notepad and they looked like crazy people because there's all these notes that nobody else would know what
Just
they were
so random
unless they were
lines.
playing the game.
Yeah.
You know.
But yeah, I mean, just what an achievement that game is. It's it came to Xbox a little later in the year, about 6-7 months after PS4 and PC. But it arrived, and it's the same 10 out of 10 game.
Yeah.
So just you can't. Boy, games like that only come around every so often. On that exact note, games that only come around so often. Inside, which is I reviewed that game. It was the easiest 10 I've ever given in my life. It's actually the only 10 I've given in my almost 5 years here at IGN. Wow. It is very much a spiritual successor to Limbo from Playdead. It is not. They're not. You don't have to play one to get the other, but it is the same similar type of physics-based puzzle platformer, and Inside is simply an unforgettable game.
Sorry, go ahead.
Just like what immediately stood out to me was the animation. Like it was incredible, and that's the thing that I still think about. I'm like, man, I just remember how good that jump was, or the little tumble was.
Yeah.
And little chicks.
And it's pretty gross at some parts, but even that
Yeah.
is still
Sure.
beautifully
It is.
animated.
Yeah, easily my favorite thing to just look at GIFs of.
Yeah.
It's just weird. Like, beautiful is one thing, but just like the excellence of its animation is just so astounding.
Yeah. The biggest thing for Inside for me is I think it has the best narrative of the year. And I totally understand people disagreeing with me on that because it's
I agree
not
with you.
story-based. But the way it tells the story is
Without a word, again.
you just start up and you're running and you're trying to figure out, what am I running from? What am I running to? Are these people guarding something? What are they
Right.
guarding? What does it have to do with me? And the way that evolves throughout the story is like it teaches you about this corporation and things that they're doing without ever saying a word.
Yeah, not only is it the moment-to-moment storytelling, but once you've beaten it, it facilitates conversation between your friends who have also played it.
Maybe the water cooler game of the year.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
so open-ended. Like, just figuring out what happened is a lot of fun.
And how you interpret it versus how I interpret it and stuff like that. And the set pieces each tell their own little story. Like the sound room, I think we'll all remember quite vividly because it was just like such a divergence from what we'd experienced so far.
I mean, there hasn't been a game that's made me think about it so much after I finished playing it than Inside in so long. I mean, for days, it was just I was trying to figure out what does this game mean? What did it mean to me? Like, what do I think the story is? I go back. I mean, you talk about a game that grabs you right away. The first 5 minutes of that game are stunningly gorgeous. Miranda, you mentioned those animations. I mean, the game was in development for 6 years, and all 6 years you can see them on the screen.
It
It's like
absolutely shows.
it's like polish on top of polish on top of polish.
The sound design, too.
And
The sound design is
the
incredible.
Secrets are so
The secrets.
smart too.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
just ridiculous.
But those opening moments are beautiful. They're harrowing. They're tense. They're playful. I mean, all in the first 5 minutes of the game, and it only serves to get weirder and crazier and more interesting and more compelling from there. All out of a 3-hour game.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say enough about Inside, and it's. I mean, I'm glad it actually came to other platforms later so that everybody could play it. But yeah, if you have not played Inside and you're an Xbox One owner, you've got to fix that.
need to play it.
Absolutely.
ASAP. Just unbelievable. Alana, this one's home turf for you. Forza Horizon 3, the follow-up to, now of course, Forza has become a two-pronged series. You've got Forza Motorsport, from Turn 10 up in Redmond, and then over in the UK in Royal Leamington Spa, out where the Queen likes to vacation, is Playground Games, which is a studio that was formed specifically to make Forza Horizon. We're now on the third one, and it is not the simulation hardcore racing game that Motorsport does so well. Forza Horizon 3 I don't even refer to it as a racing game. I think it's a car game. It's a driving game that's just almost magical in how approachable, and it's like if you took a 72-degree Fahrenheit, perfect sunny day, and pressed it onto a video game disc. To me, that's what Forza Horizon 3 is.
It is, I think, one of the only racing games that you could give to someone who has never played a racing game and they would love it. Yeah. I'm sure there's someone out there who hates Forza Horizon 3, but I can't imagine what kind of person
I don't even know if I want to meet that person.
How do you dislike it?
What does that person like if they don't like Forza Horizon 3?
The car controls feel great.
You can play as the Warthog. I mean, there's so much to do, and all of it is fun. We hate using that word to describe games, but it's fun. It's relaxing. It's something that you can pick up at any point and drive around, do ridiculous stuff.
And it's, of course, I mentioned home turf for you because it's
Australia.
Set in Australia, and it is a technical marvel as well. I mean, it's whether you play it on PC or on Xbox One, even on Xbox, it is a rock solid 30 frames per second in this freeform open world with absolutely stunning vistas and those skies too.
Yeah, they basically they went to Australia and actually captured the weather and the way that the sky moved effectively for, I think, a month or so.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that, but that means that in game, watching the sky just roll over and like slowly fade into sunset, it's just
and hundreds of cars. You can tweak your driving settings from very casual, no problem, up until to Forza Motorsport level hardcore simulation. And we're not even touching on we got to move on, but the multiplayer aspect, the social aspect of Forza Horizon 3, right?
Yeah. It's so easy to jump into things with your friends, to create challenges for your friends, to use things that they've created in the past and share them with each other, and also the music. Give a shout out to that. Huge
the radio stations are great. Just you get to actually have more control over the Horizon Festival events and what events are going to play out. The Drivatar system, we could go on and on. I've had so many people tweet me. It's probably my second favorite thing about Horizon, other than playing it, is getting tweets from all the IGN fans who go, "Oh, you and your Tesla Model S Drivatar just totally whooped me."
Yeah, people being like, "Yes, I recruited you to my festival," and it's so much fun.
All right, let's move on to another game I happen to review that's very near and dear to me, and that's Firewatch. Another one that, like The Witness, it did debut on PlayStation 4 and PC, but it came to Xbox One later in the year, and my goodness, Firewatch, to me, is it's a walking simulator, not to use the term in a negative way, because I know it kind of carries a bit of a negative connotation, but Firewatch, to me, is... probably has the most natural dialogue writing, the most realistic and natural free-flowing dialogue I've ever seen in a game.
Like, what a lovely time to spend alone. It just... isolation, like you have a friend talking to you sometimes, but a lot of times just like, I'm on my own in the wilderness, and it feels just so immersive, and everything about it is just gorgeous.
They did that thing with the PC version where you can take photos in the game and you could get them mailed to you.
Literally printed off.
Yeah, and they look so beautiful as well, because that game is beautiful, and there is especially because environments are pretty similar. I mean, you're walking around I guess
but the time of day changes because it takes place over the course of a number of days. Right. So you go from
still a huge range of colors, even though you're in similar environments.
Yeah, narrative's a huge thing for me. So like that opening immediately, like I want to know what's going on with this character, and you kind of follow him through that journey of discovering how you cope with what he's coping with.
The opening, again, we talk about opening moments like with Inside. The opening 10, 15 minutes of Firewatch, I won't even mention what it is because you will never see it coming. I won't quite go so far as to say you've never seen anything like it, but you've never quite seen it implemented in a modern game this way. And just everything from, first of all, the voice acting is incredible.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
it's Sissy Jones and Rich Sommer who are just knocking it out of the park. Even though you never actually see either one of them except for your own
kind of blocky
Wreck-It
Pixar
Ralph
style
hands.
Yeah.
and he's not the cliche male character. He's unathletic and learns to get better.
And
stuff.
he's there. He's there for he's mentally he's
there for himself.
or emotionally
Yeah.
he's there for a very difficult reason.
And I've never been through anything like he has been through in that game, but it did a great job of making me relate to his struggle and understand what he was going through. Like, just so simply weeded empathy all throughout that game.
Yeah, I mean the gamut runs from there's great comedy in that game to great drama and tension in that game to genuine sadness in that game too.
The discovery you feel of playing through the story is so profound too. Like every little bit of things you find in this vast wilderness of like what was there and people who had been there and like finding their stories too is just as fun as learning about him and his problems.
Mm-hmm.
And to wrap up, the Xbox version even added a sort of not quite a new game plus mode, but a dev commentary mode where you could go back and then listen to some sort of developer insights. And they're all over the place. It's not just like there's 3 of them. There's dozens of them all over the place. So
I love that stuff.
Just a wonderful game. Highly recommended. I mean, all these are highly recommended. Another one, of course, this was a blockbuster. Most of you have probably played this one, or at least you've certainly heard about it, and that is Gears of War 4. This was a game that's a lot of hype behind it. It's been a long time coming. This is a studio. This studio, the Coalition, wasn't called the Coalition. They weren't making Gears of War, but Microsoft bought the Gears of War IP, 3.5 years ago, and set the Coalition on it. They rebranded them, and they are the 343 of Gears now. That's what they do. And my goodness, they really knocked it out of the park on their first try.
I actually got to go to the Coalition and meet that team. Talk about a team that really cares about the brand that they're developing.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can tell, and it really shows through with their game design.
And all the multiplayer stuff they're doing now. I mean, Escalation, the new esports mode, has really changed the game. They're really pushing esports for Gears, which is, I mean, not really any third-person shooter has really managed to infiltrate the likes of
That's true.
other first-person games have. So they're doing a really good job with backing the community in that. And Escalation is so much fun. Horde's so much fun. The multiplayer is so polished, and it's still really easy to find matches.
Like even if you just want to talk about Horde for a second.
Please.
Several seconds.
I was like, dang. I mean, it's just so fantastic to see what upgrades they made to Horde without making it feel too different from what you love about Horde.
It takes that Gears of War 3 Horde that I just love the sort of tower defense elements of that, and it just evolves them in such a fun, smart, cool way.
Yeah, and with the new system of letting you be more tactical too, it's just like, hey, you guys are going to play these roles, and then
the classes.
Yeah, and then we're going to buy these things for fortification at these time. Like delegating that, I think, is a lot more fun when you're working with a team that you really know and love, and just like, hey, we're going to do better this time, we're going to do it faster this time, and we're going to improve these things for our 5th run of Horde. We're going to make it to 50 for how many times it's been.
Yeah,
and it's just really cool to keep moving on with that because of what they added to Horde.
And blockbuster games now, sorry, Destin, is we're so used to getting, maybe you get a great campaign or you get a great adversarial multiplayer mode. The triple threat is rarely seen now, but Gears of War 4, I love the campaign. I think it's just a lot of variety. You're never really doing the same thing for too long. I love the story. I loved how they bridged the gap between the old generation of Gears and the new. I love the way the game ended. And then it's great in co-op, 2-player co-op, plus Horde, plus, as you said, Miranda, just a polished, excellent versus mode too. So there's so much there for $60.
I just wanted to mention on the esports note, other games needed to take notes from those guys because they built it for spectator mode and being able to watch these fantastic matches. Like, do more of that, designers, please.
Yeah,
like as someone who's very into esports, that is so important, is having a way that your fans can watch other people play easily and have it understanding and have a layout that's not overwhelming or crowded. Yeah, it's just there's a lot to it.
Yeah, the hook of my review was I compared Gears of War 4 kind of to Episode 7, The Force Awakens, where it just did such a tremendous job of bridging that gap between the Gears you knew and loved to, well, hey, here's a new cast that's pretty great too. So boy, just the Coalition set a great bar for themselves, a great future for Gears, and Gears of War 4 we certainly cannot recommend enough. Next is Rocket League, a game that has just been a phenomenon, and out of nowhere, practically its own esport. Really, it's a little game that came out of nowhere. It debuted as a free PlayStation game, and it has since come to Xbox, and it is every bit as engrossing and engaging on any platform you play it on.
If cars could play soccer, I think this is what it would be like. It actually manages to make the physics of a thing that could never possibly exist in any universe probably feel real.
Yeah.
And it does such a good job of that. It never gets frustrating because the ball goes where you expect it to go, even though prior to playing Rocket League, none of it makes any sense. It's just so much fun. And on top of that, there's a whole lot of depth in customization, and they continue to support it with that. So there's so many customization options. Basically, every single car looks different. And I think my favorite thing about it is how quickly you respawn, because I really do screw up quite a bit. And matches can go really quickly, and it's just really easy to fail and then pick back up from where you failed and help your team out again. And it's frustrating, but so much fun.
My favorite part is, even though you may not play, you can go online and see some amazing saves and amazing goals like across the map. And just seeing the community aspect of all that stuff is just super cool.
Yeah.
And they've added a bunch of neat, fun cars to it too. As I believe the Back to the Future DeLorean is in there.
That's right. Yeah.
Which of course near and dear to my heart. Yeah, Batmobile, and then for Xbox fans specifically, the Warthog is in there, and I'm gonna get crucified now. From Gears of War 1. What's the vehicle from Gears of War 1?
Oh boy.
Betty.
See, nobody else remembers.
Thing.
I feel better.
It's not Betty.
But there's that vehicle from Gears 1 in there too. So Rocket League, again, it's just one that's probably, don't sleep on it. Pick it up. Couple more here. We got 3 more to go. Dark Souls 3, sequel to, obviously at this point, a very, very well-known franchise. It exists to punish you. It is a sadistic game by design in the very best of ways. It's kind of a role-playing game, but kind of an action game as well. It's, I guess, it's not quite fair to compare it to Ninja Gaiden, which is more just pure action, but it's a lot slower, but a lot more potentially intense too. I think it's fair to say.
I want to say I don't think Dark Souls exists to punish you. I think it exists to teach you, exactly, because when you first start out in Dark Souls, you suck. But then it gets to this point where you learn the rhythm and the dance, and you learn how to block, and you learn how to, really pace yourself. Whereas Ninja Gaiden, you can run in and just smash stuff,
But
yeah, that's like,
it's still hard.
It's still hard.
Like that's the thing I like about Dark Souls as a franchise as a whole, is because it feels real, and that you're not perfect, and you're gonna have to learn how to actually carry this heavy sword and slay things with it. It's like you don't just get to go in and slash things up because you're in a video game. Like this one is just like, hey, you need to pace yourself, you need to learn, you need to figure out what works best for you too.
Yeah.
But if you are really good at the game and want to challenge yourself, you can use that beginning gear and go through most of the game, or run through naked,
Yeah, I've seen people do that.
Actually that helps you be very fast.
Sure,
So
yeah.
Or play it with a Guitar Hero controller, right?
Yeah,
Didn't somebody do that? Didn't somebody
if you're really crazy,
beat
you
the
can play
game?
with potatoes. I think somebody did.
Yeah.
So my goodness, Dark Souls 3, that was a game that kind of came out of nowhere in the beginning, and now it's just evolved into this wonderful franchise.
Sort of Demon Souls back on the
Demon
PS3.
Souls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's what's cool about Dark Souls to me is that there's just nothing like it, really. Like now we're starting to see some imitators and some copycats and some games going, some publishers and developers going, oh boy, we should get in on some of that.
Oh, our games can
Dark
be hard.
Souls
It's okay now.
But it really sort of created its own niche and sort of carved its own path.
Yeah, I just want to say also for Dark Souls 3 specifically, does a really good job of adding to the lore that's already been established in the franchise, which is something that you can basically get into as much or as little as you want to, which I really appreciate. It doesn't spoon feed it to you. You can get involved in the lore if you want or not, and also just some really creative and creepy bosses.
Yeah, I was like, we have to say the bosses at least before
Oh,
we go.
absolutely.
Of course.
Yeah, they're like the best part, and figuring out how to defeat them or outsmart them is, oh man, it just feels so good. Because you're like, the first time you encounter them, you're like, how am I going to deal with this? Then you figure it out, and you feel like a boss when you do that.
Yeah, I remember the first time I saw a gameplay video of Dark Souls 3. It was of a boss that was like a giant tree that had like some lady private parts kind of stuff going on, and I'm like, and then it attacks very unpredictably. I'm like, what is going on with this game?
Pro tip: use fire.
Use fire.
Yeah,
says Alana Pierce. 2 more games on our best of nominees list for Xbox One in 2016. Battlefield 1 doesn't probably need a whole lot of introduction.
World War I shooter.
Yes, World War I would turn back the clock quite literally on this game, which seems to have really resonated with a lot of people. I think people were ready for a break now from. It's ironic that we once were stuck in World War II, and every military shooter was a World War II game, and people were like, "Oh God, okay, let's move on." And then Modern Warfare, Call of Duty 4 moved us on, and now we're ready from a break from Modern Warfare and future warfare shooters. And here comes Battlefield 1 to do what is what maybe is it fair to say the best entry in the Battlefield series since maybe 1942 itself?
It's pretty fantastic.
Bad Company.
That's sort of a side game, but I'll grant you that one.
Battlefield 1 for me, like, I'm not good at the multiplayer, but the moment to moment things that happen while you're
watching
playing,
you play this game.
Yeah, like you run through and then like a tank smashes through a building. In another map, a Zeppelin falls right next to you and totally
Seems
deforms.
scripted, and it's amazing that it's not.
It's all happening.
Yeah.
Like,
And it's what,
in
64
real time.
players, correct?
Up to
I believe,
64.
yeah.
It's still huge. It's still Battlefield. One of the things I love about it is that it contrasts really well from a lot of the modern shooters we have now, because they're also fast-paced and advanced. And whereas, obviously, we said, like, Battlefield 1 takes it back to World War I. And so using that weaponry is really challenging and figuring out how to, like, not use an advanced scope. And I think that just makes it, like, slows it down just enough to where you still have those brilliant tactics of Battlefield and, like, this really great experience.
I still think they did a really good job of giving you weapons that didn't feel the same as they did in Battlefield or modern versions of Battlefield, but they're old things that aren't too slow. So they're like not entirely realistic, but still fast enough to be fun. And you know, they really balance them to make them believable, but still fun.
Oh yeah, and it's gorgeous.
Yes.
Stunning. It
Like,
looks great on
yeah.
an Xbox One. I mean, it
Any
looks great on any platform. Yeah, and like in typical Battlefield style, just so many vehicles, so many cool. I mean, land, air, you name it, it's there. You can hop in it and drive it. So
Or a horse.
Or a
horse,
yes.
right?
Of course.
Yeah. I
4
also have
legs, 4 wheels, whatever you got.
You can drive it. I really like the Gallipoli campaign. Obviously, that's Australian, so I could be biased, but I just feel like it made me care about these characters within like 2-3 hour campaign. I think it was 2 hours. It made me care about them a lot. And I feel like that was partly really good scripting, really good voice acting, and it was just a really nice set piece.
Yeah, all the different parts of the campaign were just fun because you have these little vignettes of different war stories from different fronts, and I think that was a really great way to look at World War I as opposed to just following one person the entire way through.
Right.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Our last game, our last nominee for the best Xbox One game of 2016 is another sequel, and it's another good one, Deus Ex: Mankind Divided, a game that's, I mean, Human Revolution was improbably excellent in the face of trying to reboot one of the greatest games of all time, but it was excellent, and Mankind Divided just takes it up a notch. It is a game, it's a first-person game that's it really is a role-playing game. I mean, yeah, it's first person, there's shooting, but I think above all else, it's an RPG that you can choose to interact with the world. You can solve situations by shooting your way through, by sneaking your way through, or in some cases by talking your way through. And that versatility is, I think, what makes Deus Ex great.
And I think there are a lot of games that pretend to give you that level of versatility that don't quite do it. It's like a stealth game that's like, no, you can go in guns blazing if you want, but you will be punished for it. Whereas I feel like Deus Ex, I mean, it gives you the option before you even start a mission of how you want to do it. And I feel like because of that, you really actually do have freedom. It's not just pretending that you have freedom.
Yeah. That's a really good point. Game also, looks nice. It's
Smart level design.
Really good level design. Like to your point specifically, that the level design is tailored for 3, 4, sometimes more avenues of approach. Whether you want to crawl through the air duct up top and then, get in behind and stealth attack, or just come in, go cover to cover and shoot your way through.
Yeah, something that could take someone 3 hours might take another person 20 minutes, just depending on how you approach it, which is awesome.
Yeah, that is a great point. And Mankind Divided even drops a few little side modes, Breach, and some other little extra things to do even after you've finished the very highly replayable campaign as well. So those are our 10 nominees for Best Xbox One Game of 2016. Again, if you'd like to win your choice of any one of those, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/IGN Unlocked. Leave a comment on this video on that channel with your prediction for which one you think is going to win, and check back January 6th for the winner, and then we will choose from those of you that guessed the correct one. Again, we don't even know.
Yeah, can I ask you guys what you think is going to win?
What you want to say? What we're voting for?
No,
like
what you think is going to win?
what I think is going to win.
My vote's private.
I think we should probably we should let the listeners.
Yeah, I guess we don't want to necessarily sway people,
like
right?
different answers though.
But we are all going to have. That's true. We are all going to have different answers.
I don't know.
No, we'll let people
all right.
people decide for themselves. But because then I like subconsciously influence the rest of IGN, and I guess maybe I should do that. I guess I probably should.
Subconsciously use your mind powers.
You will everyone in the editorial room will vote for the game that I want. They're all great. I mean, if any one of these wins, it is a good choice, Destin. It's going to be a good victory. So thank you so much for joining us on this very special edition of Podcast Unlocked, the world's #1 Xbox podcast. For Miranda Sanchez, Alana Pierce, Destin Legary, my name is Ryan McCaffrey. Join us for the regular episodes of Unlocked each and every Wednesday. They usually post right about the end of day Pacific time, so either depending where you live, you might want to grab it right at the end of your day or at the beginning of your Thursday. We are here for you each and every week. So thank you all so much, and for all things Xbox, you're already in the right place right here at IGN.